Hello, everybody. Jeff Olson, founder and CEO of Nerium International. I want to talk to you about a little bit about the position you're in with Nerium International. Number one, understand this. You sit in seats that have never been sat in before. The direct sales industry is about 150 years old. It's in about 140 countries. It's about 100 million people doing it around the world. Last year, it did $160 billion in sales. And Nerium International did in its first, second, third year what's never been done in the direct sales industry. So you sit in seats that have never been sat in before, but the great thing is everything that made this company great is getting better going forward. The products, the marketplace, the systems, the company, the infrastructure, the culture, and the field. And so what's made this company so successful? Number one, we're a world-class company. I always like to say we do things world-class, first class. We're in a world-class space, the space of beauty. The space of beauty is the number one space in the direct sales industry. 9 of the top 10 companies come from this space. If you go into a department store, the first thing you see, every single department store, is beauty. It'll be that way the rest of your life. It's evergreen. And that's a clue. You know, when you go into those stores, you don't see juices, you don't see services, you don't see coffees, you don't see diets. You'll always see beauty. It's the number one space in direct sales. It's the number one space in traditional retail. On top of that, what we've done here is we have a company that has come to that market space with world-class products. Every one of our product is backed by true, legitimate science come out of biotechnology science. Every one of our products is first to the market. They're unique. They have differentiation. We have the global exclusive rights to them. And every one of them has clinical support to them, what they've done. And every one of them is a breakthrough product. And so every single time you represent our products, you're representing something that somebody can't get anywhere else. There's a huge barrier of entry for many of us replicating or duplicating our products. On top of that, we have a world-class opportunity. How we do that is first of class our management team. Our management team is second to none. Every one of them across the board has 10, 15, 20 years of experience and very successful experience. Because of them, we've built systems and operating processes and models that are very unique to the industry, first class in the industry, and first to the industry. And we're doing things at just a very young company that most companies are 10, 15, 20 years old in this industry have never done. So we have a real class business opportunity. And what that's done is allows us to put together a business model, a compensation model for you that really is what I think is the fairest one in the direct sales industry. It doesn't have any gotchas. It doesn't ask people to buy inventory they don't need. It's built on customer acquisition. It's with products that really bring value to the marketplace. We're a company that really, I think, just does it fair compared to other things that happen in the direct sales industry. Quite honestly, the direct sales industry has a bad name out there. And I agree with a lot of the things that people don't like with it because they ask people to do things they don't need to do. Ask them to buy inventory they don't need. You hear the words like garage qualified, that type of thing. We don't do that here at Nerium International. We really have a legitimate business model that's fair to the consumer and fair to the brand partner. On top of that, we really have a world-class culture. I think that's one of the most important things a company can have. A culture kind of defines who you are. It's your DNA. Your culture will attract the people you want and also repel the people you don't want. And anybody that looks at our company, what they realize this is a company that is attracting probably the highest caliber of people the direct sales industry has ever seen. John Fleming, who's been in this industry about 47 years, was a president of Avon, who's one of the, basically the patriarchs of the direct sales industry. When he comes to our events, he always says, this is genius in motion. I've never seen a company attracting the quality of people that you're attracting. So we really have a culture that when you get here, you'll find out that we're a company that's much larger than a company that's about product and compensation. We're a company that's about purpose and meaning. And we're a company that's attracting givers, not takers. And I really believe in that. I always, in my life, have looked for people who are givers. Givers are people who have an abundance mentality. They think there's enough for everybody. Whereas takers are people who think that if I don't get it, then you get it. And so I have to win and you have to lose. And they have a scarcity mentality. We're not that way. We're independent distributors, but we're not independent of each other. We're interdependent. What I mean by that is we work together collectively. We believe in synergism. We really believe that two minds creates a third more powerful mind. We're a field that completes each other and doesn't compete with each other. A lot of times in the direct sales companies, you find organizations of people who literally compete with each other, and we don't believe in that. We really believe that we working together collectively, we can all become a much better person, much better version of ourselves working together than we can individually. And I always say this to you, we will believe in you until you believe in yourself, and we'll love you until you love yourself. We're a company that really pours into its people, and you'll see that with our personal development and our systems. And we're a company that was built on 3 words: make people better. Not make their skin better, not make their finances better, but make people better. Become a better version of yourself, but more importantly, be a company that allows you to help other people become a better version of themselves. When we started this company, we built the company around the word real. That we're going to be real science, real results, real opportunity, real people, real life. That was a big statement to say that we're going to be real, because you'll be pointed out in this internet society and social society right now. If you're not real, you'll be pointed out. And so we focused the company on the word real, and we've lived up to it. In our first year, we brought all of our top leaders together and to a conference, and the whole place was branded Loving, Caring, Sharing. And we said, we're not going to be a great company, but we're going to be a great company that does it in a loving, caring, sharing way. And I'd have to say we're the happiest company on earth, because we are the company that founded the happiness movement. We're the company that started Live Happy magazine. We're the company that drives acts of happiness. We're the company that has made the happiness movement start in the United States. Matter of fact, I spoke at the United Nations on global happiness. I've been inducted into the Happiness Hall of Fame. And we're a company that's really about being happy, and I'll talk about that later on. And so again, we're a company that's much larger than a company that is about product and comp plans. We're about purpose and meaning. And we bring that all together, that we're a company that operates in world-class space, with world-class products, with world-class opportunity, with a world-class management team, with a world-class culture. When you bring those things all together, what you have here is an unlimited opportunity. So understand this, you sit in seats that have never been sat in before. So what I want to do now is talk about what you can do to leverage this and change your life. I've always said that if somebody spent their life learning something and wrote a book, why would I spend the rest of my life learning that same thing when I could just read the book? And so what I'm about to do is share with you experiences that I've had in this industry. And quite honestly, I've been very successful in this industry and been blessed in this industry. And through the process, I've learned a lot of things that make this business work. And I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes it's just as important to know what doesn't work as to know what does work. And we put this company together, Mark and Tammy Smith, who you just heard from, Dennis Windsor, you've heard from, and Renee Olson and Amber Olson O'Rourke. We really have a lot of collective wisdom, because between us, we have decades and decades of experience. And so we were coming, when we came together, we wanted to build it around the family. And I want to, on a side note, I want to mention one thing, because when people get involved with Nerium, we always talk about the Nerium family. And obviously you see Amber Olson O'Rourke, who's my daughter, and you'll see Renee Olson. And people assume all the time that we're married. We were married, and we got divorced about 12 years ago, remained good friends, and we're involved in the business. But I just want to make a side note there so you know we're talking as a family. We're talking about the Nerium family. But with that, the point I'm trying to get across is we have a lot of collective information. So we're sharing with you stuff that we've learned through doing the business. And so the first thing you're going to find out here at Nerium is all you really need to do is follow a system, a proven system. You heard Mark and Tammy talk about the system. You'll hear us say the word rhythm. There's a rhythm that we have, and our goal has always been to build a system that allows you to leverage the entire marketplace. What I mean by that is every one of you lives someplace, and you can build your business in your local neighborhood, in your local community, and then it can spread into your state, into your region, to your country, and to other countries. And what our goal has always been is to build a system that allows you to leverage the footprint as we go. So I always say you hold down home court and you learn the rhythm, you learn the system, and then that will take you around the world. I've always said when our business, the way our model works, is you might be in another country working with us. You might not understand another word they're saying, but you understand everything you're saying because they're following the same system, the same rhythm. We built it around a thing we call the 10 core commitments. This is something that I came up with a long time ago after years and years of experience in this industry and having a huge success, but I was trying to come up with some simple 10 core commitments that if people follow these, I knew they'd be successful. And here's a key thing about the 10 core commitments. You heard Mark and Tammy talk about them. The first thing you need to notice is they're easy to do. You can do them. Now, that's important because there's nothing there that you can't do. It's a simple process to follow. Another thing that's neat about them is I've seen people all over the world use them and change their life. Without knowing who you are, knowing anything about your background, your strengths and your weaknesses, and we all have those, I can guarantee you I know at least 50 to 100 people who are very, very similar to you who took the 10 core commitments and literally changed their life because they followed them consistently and persistently with a good attitude over a long period of time. So we're going to be talking about the 10 core commitments, and I'm going to start with number 10. I think it's the most important one, and that is be here a year from now. Why is that? Because everyone is on a journey. This is going to be a journey. It's not going to be just a goal. It's not going to be just a destination. It's going to be a journey. In that journey, you're going to learn everything you need to do to be successful in this business. And I guarantee you, when you start out, you're not good in this business. When you start, the very first day, you're the worst you'll ever be. I call people that get started in this business baby brand partners. That's what you are. You need to look at it like a traditional business. See, there's a rule of thumb in business or franchise. And franchising, if you start in a company, you have to invest 5 times more than you want to make. So if you want to make $50,000 a year, you got to invest $250,000. But you'll sign an agreement that says that it's going to take you 5 years to make your money back. But guess what? that investment gets your attention and you treat it like a business, and you will not just think about being here a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, or 5 years from now. You'd be here as long as it takes to be successful. The point I'm trying to get across, this next year, you're going to go down a journey, and it's going to be different for every one of you, depending on the skill sets you brought to the table. Some of you have different skill sets than other ones, and some of you have to develop certain skill sets, but it's going to take you time. But your goal should be to make it to national marketing director. The average national marketing director in the company makes a six-figure income. Now think about it. That's the top 5% income in the United States, the greatest country in the world. What if it took you 6 years? What if it took you 1 year to go from brand partner to a senior brand partner, another year to go from senior brand partner to director, another year to go from director to senior director, another year to go from senior director to executive director, another year to go from executive director to regional marketing director, another year to go from regional marketing director to national marketing director? That's 6 years. You'd be a national marketing director, and you'd be the upper 5 percentile income in the United States. Wouldn't it be worth it? So give yourself time. Give yourself permission to fail. Watson, the founder of IBM, he said, you double your rate of failure. That's how you're successful. You literally fail your way to the top. And understand this. This is real important. We pull a lot of data. We look at a lot of statistics on the company and people. If you took all of our NMDs and you looked at how long it took them to go from startup to becoming a national marketing director, and you looked at the volume that they generated on the way. So say somebody took them 3 years to become a national marketing director. When they were 18 months in or halfway there, they were only 18% of the volume there. There's a natural process that you have to do. You understand? There's a natural harmony of life. You got to plant seeds, you got to cultivate, and you got to harvest. Most of the work is done in the planting seeds and the cultivating, and then the harvest comes later. So understand, say if it's going to take you 6 years to go national marketing director, 3 years into it, only 18% of your volume is going to be there. The other 82% that happened in the last half. That's just the natural progression of how the business works. And so give yourself time to be successful. Be willing to be at least a year from now to learn the business. I've always said, in this business, the first 90 days, you kind of just figure out what you got into. The first year, you learn how to do it. By the second year, you learn how to do it well. And eventually, the success starts to come in. So it's like a traditional business. You got to treat it like a business. And so think about it. If you just got in here to make an extra $1,000 a month, and you say you want to get to that within 6 months, well, then that would mean when you're halfway to 6 months, 3 months into it, you'd be making about $180, but you'd be right on track. That's how the business works. You've got to understand that, or you're setting yourself up for disappointment. So again, give yourself time, be willing to put in the time and the effort. But the main thing here is you got to understand, to drive you through all this stuff, you got to know why you're in this business. Mark and Tammy talked about that. What is your why? What's the thing that keeps you up and gets you going in this business? And so, Napoleon Hill, I'll talk about him a lot. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, probably one of the classic books. It was written about 60 years ago. Napoleon Hill took 20 years. He navigated the earth for 20 years, and he interviewed the 500 most successful people on earth, looking for what they had in common for success. He found the 13 things they have in common. But he also found the main reason why people don't succeed, and that is because they listen to their friends, family, and neighbors. And it's because of that, he says, what you have to do, and this is what the 500 most successful people said they do, they create their mastermind group. The people who see it the way they see it. The people who want to do what they want to do, to inoculate themselves from the negative people. You're going to have to understand, on the way to success, not just here, anything you ever do, there'll be the naysayers. And a lot of times it's the people you know the best. And so in that book, he studied the 500 most successful people. They said the number one enemy you have is your friends, family, neighbors. I hate to say that. It's not always that way. Just be prepared for that. It's going to be that way sometimes. He said because you have your mastermind group, people who see it the way you do. That's why you come to our events and our meetings, because you want to be around people, like-minded people in a like-minded direction. But from there, and he called that your mastermind group. But in his writing, he listed the 13 things that make people successful. And he said the number one thing you have to have desire. Desire is the thing that gets you up early and keeps you up late. Desire is the thing that gets you through the problems. There's going to be problems. Understand, successful people solve problems. The bigger the problem you can solve, the bigger your check is. It's just a simple thing, okay? So you have to have desire to become successful. You have to desire to go through that first year. The second thing you have to have is faith. You have to have faith and belief in what you're doing can get you there and achieve that. That's why I'm telling you these things right now, because we have the company can get there. This is a company that's going to give you the vehicle to get there, but you're the one that's going to have to drive this vehicle, and you've got to give yourself some time. So the 10th core commitment says, be here a year from now, and give yourself some time to become successful. You're going to have to be driven by desire. You're going to have to have faith that this is the vehicle that can get you there. And so, like I said earlier, treat it like a business. If you've got into any traditional business, you most certainly would give it a year. Here, at least, I'm asking for a year. That's the 10th core commitment. So understand this. Every one of us here, every one of you, when you get involved in this company, you're marketing the same product, the same company, in the same market with the same systems. There's only one variable, and that is you. And it's very important for you to understand because it's the you variable that's going to determine whether you're successful or not. And so again, like I said earlier, I know 50, 100 people just like you who've come to this business and they've become successful, but every one of them had a learning curve somewhere. They had to change a part of you. So what you'll find out in this business, it's not as much about the hows. And Mark and Tammy talked about the hows, but it's how you do the hows. And here's what I've learned in my business and my successes in life. And I've been very blessed in business, both outside the industry and inside the industry. There's the people who work on their philosophy and attitude equal to their actions and hows are the people who are successful. See, here's how it works. Philosophy is everything you know, how you hold it, and how it affects what you do. It's your knowledge. That's your philosophy. It builds your philosophies. Your philosophies create your attitude. If you have good philosophies, it turns into good attitude. That's what drives the machine. Now, when you have good philosophies and good attitude, that turns into your actions and turns into good actions. What I'm saying is the actions then will turn into your results, which turns into your lifestyle. So you're not having the lifestyle result you want. You have to look at your actions. But the actions are not giving you the lifestyle and result you want. You have to look at your philosophies and your attitude. Philosophy, attitude, again, comes from what you know. And we're going to be talking about a lot of that today. What I'm telling you is I'm going to share with you in this talk today a lot of the philosophy and attitude things you need to have to drive the hows, because it's not the hows. The hows are the 10 core commitments. Every one of the 10 core commitments you can do. It's not the hows, it's how you do the hows. And what you're going to find is successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So as I go through the systems, I go through the processes and the principles that drive this business, understand everything that we do, everything that Mark and Tammy talked about, you can do. The 10 core commitments, you can do them. It's not the hows, it's going to be how you do the hows. And that's what I'll be talking about for the remainder of this talk. Okay, so let's start talking about the hows. Let's start talking first of all about the 10 core commitments. The 10 core commitments, basically, we really, through them, they're kind of broken up into 4 areas. Number 1, how to share the product. That's core commitment number 3. The next one is how to share the opportunity, and that's core commitment number 2. And then you combine sharing the opportunity and the product. That's real results parties. That's core commitment number 4. And then there's training. Those are core commitments number 6 and 7. Then there's we communicate, which is core commitment number 5. The key thing here is, and this is very important for you to understand, we've taken all the core commitments and we've given to you in a way that we call the message and the messenger. What I mean by that, you are the messenger and the core commitments or the things that we do is the message. And what we've done for you, you heard me earlier talking about the system and the rhythm and the 10 core commitments. What we've done is we've done them all in what we call third-party format. What I mean by that is you don't have to be good at doing them. You have to be good at pointing to them, pointing towards the things that drive them. Third party. What I mean by third party, that is anything that's other than you. I always like to say, if you're talking, you better be pointing at something. So third party, like pointing to a video, pointing to a training, pointing to a communication, pointing to an event. You want to push towards a third party event. That's something other than you. So what you are is you're the messenger pushing people towards the message, which is the third party tool. When you get that, that's what sets up the laws of duplication. See, in the direct sales industry, your goal is to build a large organization. The key to that is have a system that replicates and duplicates without you. In order for that to work, it has to be simple. And I've always said, and one of the phrases I coined in this industry was master the mundane. Don't complicate it, master the mundane. Keep it simple so it's duplicatable. By using third-party tools, it duplicates easier than by doing everything first-party with your mouth and through your efforts. Third-party things duplicate, first-party things do not duplicate. First-party things might work, but they don't duplicate. You want to do things that not only work, but they also duplicate. So when I'm doing anything, whether I'm sharing the product or sharing the opportunity or communicating or training, I want to be doing it in a third-party format. I'm the messenger trying to get people to understand how to do it through third party. And so What I want to do is everything I do, I want it when I'm in front of somebody sharing the product or sharing the opportunity or doing the training or doing the communication, I want them to be saying this to themselves. I can do what you're doing. If you make it complicated, if you talk too much, you try to explain it too much, they're going to say, okay, you're smart, I get it, but I can't do what you're doing. I want them also to say, I had the time to do what you're doing. Understand, when people get started in this business, baby brand partners, they got a job, they got a family, they have other endeavors. They're at their highest level of anxiety and their lowest level of knowledge. You're just getting started, okay, just like yourself. And if you try and get them to do too many things, they're going to say to themselves, I can't do that, and nor do I have the time to do it. And the next thing I want them to say to themselves is, I would be willing to do to my friends, family, neighbors what you're doing to me. So if you're really pushing on them, talking too much, sharing too much, explaining too much, they're going to say, hey, first of all, I can't do what you're doing. Second of all, I don't have the time to do what you're doing. Third of all, I really don't want to do what you're doing to my friends, family, neighbors. But if you're sharing the product or the opportunity through third-party tools like videos and magazines and websites and calls and that type of thing, or you're sharing the training through the website and CDs and that type of thing, or doing the communication through our communication platforms, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, I can do that, even with my job and my family and other endeavors. And I have the time to do that. I can point people towards things. And wow, that's simple. That's not intrusive. I'd be willing to do that with my friends, family, neighbors. And so that's what we're talking about, the system, to do it in a third-party format. And so we've done everything for you. The 10 core commitments, everything has been built in a third-party format where that's the hows, okay? And it's going to be, when I say it's how you do the hows now, it comes back to you as the messenger. And this is probably the most important part. The people who are successful in this business become great messengers. What I mean by that, that's the 8th core commitment, and that is they commit to personal development. Personal development is everything. That's why I talk about philosophies and attitudes. Personal development comes from the books you read, the tapes you listen to, the seminars you attend. Probably the most important thing in personal development is the people that you associate with. Laws of association are huge. You can't be positive if the 5 people you associate with the most are negative. You are the combined average of the 5 people you associate with. The way they think, the way they walk, the way they talk, how they dress, their attitude, their philosophies, their actions, everything about them, you are the combined average of them. So you have to look at that. There's some people that you may be spending 2 days with, but you need to take it down to 2 hours. And there's some people you might be spending 2 hours with, you might need to take it down to 2 minutes. There's some people you're spending 2 minutes with, you might need to just disassociate. On the other hand, there's probably people that you're spending a few minutes with, you need to take it up to a couple hours. Other people you're spending a couple hours with, you need to take it to a couple days. You need to look at your associations and what are they doing to you? How are they affecting you? Personal development. Personal development is the books you read. The books you don't read can't help you. And what we say at this company is read 10 pages of a good book a day. And there's a lot of great books we recommend. And in our back office, we have all this digital information you also can get. But think about this, 10 pages of a good book a day. 10 pages that times 365 days a year, that's 3,650 pages. That's about 12 books. You read 12 good books like Think and Grow Rich and different books that we'll recommend to you. It will change your philosophy. It will change your attitude, which will change your actions or your hows, and that will now make the hows work. Again, it's not the hows, the 10 core commitments. They're all third party. You just got to point towards them. But you are the messenger, and the better messenger you become, the better successful you are getting people to do the hows. Is what it does to you, it changes your energy. It changes your flow. You ever notice when you walk into a room, some people brighten the room, some people dim the room? The people who brighten the room are the people who are more evolved, personal development. They're more focused on the positive things. And so we really focus on personal development. It's as simple as 10 pages of a good book a day. That's just a few short minutes that can change your entire process. It's like Abraham Lincoln said, great philosopher. He said, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening my axe, 1 hour chopping down the tree. What he was saying is I'd work on how to do the hows. See, the how is the axe. Anybody can do that, but it's how you do the hows. He said I'd spend 75% of the time working on me, 25% of the time working on it. And so when you do that, that's what drives your philosophies, what drives your hows. And so why is this so important? Why is personal development so important? I don't mean to be negative here, but I'm going to be a little negative. What you're going to find out, if you haven't already figured this out, is the average person is negative. We have what's called the subconscious, and the subconscious is mostly negative. It's formed to protect yourself. You've heard the word no 40,000 times by the time you're 5 years old. The word yes only 5,000 times. The parents have to say the no's. Don't touch the fire. Don't go in front of the car. They have to say the no's. Let me give you a simple raising a child process. For every no you give a child, give them 5 yeses. Now they'll also be reversed. That's what I did with my daughter, and that's why she's so positive. It's just a simple concept. We are naturally just programmed negatively. And get this, every day, think about it. When you get up, do you have to seek out negative? It's in the newspapers. It's in the media. It's around you everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, on TV, everything's sensationalism. When you go to the grocery store and you're checking out and you look out the magazines, do you see anything positive? It's all negative, unless you're maybe like a Whole Foods or something. But it's all negative. You have to consciously and willpower seek out positive. And so the world is just naturally wired negative. It just kind of goes back to protecting ourselves. And so the average person has a negative subconscious. And so you need to reverse that through personal development, which creates positive psychology and well-being. You know, there's a neat thing that Napoleon Hill talked about. You know, when he interviewed those 500 people, took 20 years doing this for you. He found the 13 things they have in common. He said number 1 was desire. Number 2 is faith. The most interesting one was number 3. He said auto-suggestion. He said the most successful people, on average, twice a day, said to themselves out loud what they were trying to accomplish. Now, these are the most successful people. Henry Ford told himself twice a day he wanted to make a car. Now, he didn't do that because he was not smart and he couldn't remember he was trying to make a car. He did that because he knew the power of the subconscious brain. And he knew if he didn't constantly remind his subconscious brain what he wanted to achieve, it would let anything in. See, if you're just going to let anything in, you will be negative. You've got to consciously block the negative and consciously receive the positive. The 500 most successful people, after desire and faith, 20 years of interviewing them, said auto-suggestion. They would say out loud twice a day what they're trying to accomplish because they were telling their subconscious brain what they're trying to achieve, so it would let in the things that allow them to achieve that, and it would block the things that would allow them to achieve that. You got to get that. And again, that's why we do personal development. We're trying to, it's like the scales of justice. And on one side you have negative, on one side you got positive. You have grains and sands. We're trying to pile the positive stuff on the other side. And that's the books you read, tapes you listen to, seminars and trainings you attend, and the people you associate with. If you focus on that consciously, you will win that. It's not complicated. It's as simple as 10 pages, a good book a day. Great book out there that I read called Untethered Soul. Untethered Soul it's an amazing book. And the first 60 pages when I was reading, I was just laughing because he's talking about these voices in your head, voices, okay? And it's as if he had lived with me a whole life. He heard all the things that were going on in my head, and it's all negative. It's no matter what you come up with, it tells you the opposite or says you can't do it or fights you. And you go to bed at night, it's there. When you wake up in the morning, it starts talking to you. And he talks about that. And everybody I've shared this book with who's read the book, they come back and they say the same thing. And it's interesting. We all think he's been in our head. So what it tells you, we all kind of have the same negative subconscious. Of course we do, because we're in the same environment. This exercise he does, he has this invisible body next to you, and he takes out that voice and he puts in it, and that becomes your friend. Now, this person all day long follows you, just never shuts up, constantly tell you negative things about what you're trying to do, what you can accomplish, always telling you can't do things. What would you do to that person? You would disown that person. He goes on to tell you, guess what? That's who you are. That's your best friend. And he puts them back in you, and he says what you have to do is quiet that voice to create space for the positive stuff. What you got to consciously understand is the negative subconscious. And that's why personal development is so important, because that allows you to become a great messenger. You become a great messenger and you start controlling those things. All of a sudden you brighten the room, and all of a sudden you ask people to do things, which are the third party things, the message, okay, the hows, they start doing them. And what I've seen over and over in this business, people come in, they start in the business, they don't have much success. They work through the business of, 3 months, 6 months, a year, but they keep on doing their personal development. All of a sudden, 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later, things that didn't work from before start to work. And it's not that the things they're doing are any different. It's just how they're doing them, and it's coming from the personal development. So understand this. No matter how big your organization gets, and we want it to get big, at all times, 80% of your business is going to be new people. That's just the nature of it growing. It's like a grass fire. You drop a match in a grass fire and it starts spreading out. Where's the hottest area? The surface area, the outside area. That's your new business. It's always going to be your biggest area. Now, who are those people? They're baby brand partners, like I'm talking about, people like yourself. Highest level of anxiety, lowest level of knowledge. They're not very good messengers yet, okay? They're out there trying to do the business. You understand who these people are. Matter of fact, I have a friend who runs the biggest software company in this industry. It's been around for over 30 years, worked with over 300 companies, tens of millions of people database. And I asked him to go through that database and tell me, on average, of the people who get involved in this in these companies, and this is through a lot of different companies, how many of these people ever did anything? He said 70% of the people never did anything. Now think about that. These are people like yourself who had an awakening, saw an opportunity, said this is something that could change my life or better my life, got involved, and then they never did anything. Now, somebody at the exact same time in that company is going to the very top and changing their entire lives. They all have the same company, same product, same marketplace, same systems. One does it, one doesn't do it. What is it? It can't be the hows. It's got to be how you do the hows. It's got to be more than anything else, the subconscious. And so we really focus on that. Matter of fact, you're involved in this company, you're going to receive the Live Happy magazine. Understand, the company you're involved with is the company that started Live Happy magazine. Like I said earlier, I spoke to the United Nations on happiness, the General Assembly of the United Nations. I was inducted in the Hall of Fame of Happiness. We started the magazine called Live Happy. It's on all the news racks. What we have found is happiness, which is really positive psychology and well-being. What happiness is the precursor to success. Everybody has it backwards. If you go to talk to all the positive psychologists and educators from UPenn and around the world, and I do that. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the founders of IPenn, which is Positive Education Network, which is the greatest universities around the world coming together to try and create what they call flow and character in the school system. So it's not just about the hows, but it's how you do the hows. What they have found is that everybody has it backwards. Everybody thinks when I'm successful, I'll be happy. When I have my health, I'll be happy. When I have my relationships, I'll be happy. And it's been proven through brain scans and the greatest universities and clinicals, it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's reversed. When you become happy, you will become healthier. When you become happy, you'll have better relationships. When you become happy, you'll have better finances. So it's a precursor to success. And so we, of all companies, not just in the direct sales industry, but of any company in the world, we are the biggest content aggregator of happiness content. We are the biggest portal for happiness. We have the Live Happy magazine. We have the Live Happy gear. We drive the Live Happy events. And so naturally in this company, we really focus on that because what we know it's going to do for you is make you more successful. And here's what's so neat about it is it's very easy to obtain. You can take an 80-year-old man who's very grumpy his whole life, and literally in 1 month, you can make them happy by just certain 5 to 10 minute exercises, very proven scientifically. The other thing about it, it's not about the big things that you do, it's about the little things that you do. And so what you're going to find is happiness thing is a very easy thing to do. And so it's part of what we give you, along with all the personal development we give you, to drive your philosophy, to drive your attitude. So now the hows start to work. And so core commitment number 8 is a big one. Number 1, we talked about the core commitment number 10, which is be here a year from now. Now we talked about core commitment number 8, which is do it in a positive, philosophical attitude way. Okay, let's keep going forward. I'm going to start moving now towards core commitment number 1. Before I do, I started out with core commitment number 10, which is be here a year from now. Through that, then I talked about core commitment number 8, which is personal development. In there, I talked about one of the most important parts about personal development is laws of association. And that kind of leads me to core commitment number 9, which is a workout partner. What I have found in this business, you always want somebody to work with. There's an old saying, 2 minds creates a third more powerful mind. Or synergy, where a group of people can go someplace together that they can't go to by themselves. It's why you want to have somebody when you work out at a gym or other things you do. You kind of hold each other responsible. So it's called a workout partner. And also that's laws of association. It's the same thing. What you want to do is associate with like-minded people, positive people like the mastermind group, like Napoleon Hill talked about. That's core commitment number 9. So what we've talked about so far is number 10. We've talked about number 8 and number 9. So now I want to move to the beginning, core commitment number 1. And that is to complete the new brand partner training. I won't go through that in detail because Mark and Tammy went through that very, very well for you. But what I'm going to do is give you a secret. And this is a big secret to be successful in this business. If you will hear this part, you'll be successful in this business. We have what we call a new brand partner training. We have these CDs that are in the kit that you're listening to right now. Congratulations, you're listening to them. Every Monday night, we have a thing called Nerium University that you can plug into every single Monday night. Those three things, if you'll plug into them every single week until you have achieved what you want to achieve, whether it's a year from now or 5 years from now, you'll be successful. I call it spaced repetition. There's 4 ways you're going to become successful with this information. One is called learn knowledge. Number 2 is what's called activity knowledge. Number 3 is called modeling knowledge. Number 4 is called teaching knowledge. What do I mean by that? The first thing is learn knowledge. That's the information you get from the new brand partner training, from the CDs in this kit, from the Nerium University. That's learn knowledge. Then you take that knowledge, you listen to that every single week. Then you go out and apply that information. That's called activity knowledge. Now understand, first time you listen to it, it'll be the least you understand it. So the first time you go out and do it, will be the worst you've ever been at doing it. But through listening to it 1 week and then going and doing it for a week, you will have learned some things. And then you go back the second time and you listen to it again. Then you take that information and now you will hear it different. The second time you listen to it, you'll hear it differently than the first time. Why is that? Because of what you learn through the activity. So you just can't go through the top through learn, listening to the tapes over and over. You can't just go to the top just by doing activity. They work together. You learn it, then you do it. Then you go back and you listen to the exact same thing, although it'll be totally different. I can read a book, put it up on my bookshelf, come back a year later and read that book, and it's as if somebody came in and rewrote the entire book. What happened? Because I learned from the book. I went out and did the activities for a year. Because when I learned doing the activities, I came back and read the book, it was different. See, learn knowledge and activity knowledge work congruently together, not separately. They're like stepping stones going up. You can't do them separately. They got to work together. So you listen to the new brand partner training. Then you go out and do the activities it tells you to do. That's activity knowledge. Come back and you listen to it again. Then you go out and do them. You do that every single week. If you will do this one thing, I guarantee you'll be successful. You say to yourself, well, I keep on doing it over and over. It's kind of boring. People, if you bought a franchise and you want to make $100,000 a year and you invested $500,000 and you got a store, would you go to the same store every day? Would you cook the same hamburgers every single day? Would you do the same thing over and over? Yes. That's the successful people. They do the simple little things consistently, persistent over a long period of time. So I'm giving you the secret to this business. It's a simple one. This is something you can do. What you want to do is turn your car into Drive Time University. Listen to these CDs all the time. See, when you listen to these CDs or you listen to brand partner training, guess what you're doing? You're building your dream. See, every single day you're building your dream or you're building somebody else's dream. Every single decision you make, every single action you take, you're either building your dream or you're building somebody else's dream. When you turn the radio off, all that stuff that you don't need, and you start listening to these CDs, whose dream are you building? You're building your dream. When you go to Nerium University on Monday night versus going off and doing something else where you're probably building somebody else's dream, what are you doing? You're building your dream. So what I'm asking you to do is do these things, spaced repetition. You do them, go through the learn knowledge, and then you go out and you do the activity. Then you come back to the exact same learn knowledge, then you go out and do the activity. And you come back to the same learn knowledge, go out and do the activity. If you do that, you'll do that until it's ingrained in you. I've seen this work over and over and over with people. But here's a kind of a neat thing. The hardest thing for most people is to go from learn knowledge to activity knowledge. Because in activity knowledge is where you face what? Rejection. And in rejection, that's where fear lies. And it's like Emerson, a great philosopher. He said, do the thing and you'll have the power. He didn't say, I'm going to give you the power to do the thing. What do you mean by saying do the thing and you'll have the power? He meant you learn by doing the activity. So learn knowledge you can do. You're going to do it over and over. You just keep on doing it every single week. But you got to go out and do the activity every single week, knowing that when you first start, it's the worst you'll ever be. And you'll just get better and better over time. That's how it is in traditional business. That's how it is when you start a job. That's how it is in athletics. That's how it is in everything. But here, you're an independent contractor. Here, we don't have $500,000 of yours. So we have to get you to understand this because you are independent. Because every day when you wake up, it's your decision whether you listen to the information. It's your decision whether you act on the information. And you're out there by yourselves. You're going to have a philosophy. Again, it's not the hows. It's how you do the hows. What I'm giving you here is a philosophy that will change your attitude about activity knowledge and change your attitude about learn knowledge. If you have the right philosophy about it, then you'll do these activities over and over repetitively, working congruently with each other, and you'll become successful. So this is where you understand philosophy and attitude affects your hows. And so when I think about my life, before I got in this industry, I've had a lot of successes. And one of my most interesting ones is I started a solar company. It became a very large solar company all over the United States, very successful one. I didn't know anything about solar, okay? I'd come out of Texas Instruments where I was involved in electronics. I was head of the Intelligent Systems Division when I was at Texas Instruments. And I started a solar business because that was the new business. And I really didn't know anything about it. And so I remember we built these collectors, and I went to this first meeting in another city with this heating and air conditioning company. Now, it's talking about our collectors, and these are air collectors, which means we're drawing air through them. And he asked me, do you run your collectors on positive flow or negative flow? And I go, I don't know. I didn't know. I really didn't. I left that meeting, and that meeting failed because obviously I didn't know what I needed to know. I called back to our engineers. I said, are we positive flow or negative flow? And he said, we're negative. And I go, why? And he goes, because when you pull air through, it flattens it out and it touches all the surfaces and you get good resistance. And so you get good transfer of heat versus when you push, it stacks up. You don't get that. I said, okay, I get that. So the next person I called on, they asked the exact same question. I said, well, negative pressure, obviously. That's called learn knowledge and activity knowledge. But I had to go through hundreds of those different learning things. And I couldn't just sit over there learning it. And I couldn't just sit there doing it. They had to work together within that same thing. The other thing is, I think when we go out there and do this business, you move from learn knowledge to activity knowledge, and you have fear out there, your biggest thing is your fear of rejection. And I had that same thing. I remember when I got out of college, Texas Instruments hired me out of graduate school. They put me in what's called an accelerated management program. But to do that, I had to go through sales first. And they wanted everybody to learn the sales process. And I remember, hey, I can't sell. It was just the biggest fear there ever was in me. And I knew I was going to my first sales call. And all of a sudden, I read this article. It had nothing to do with sales, but it changed everything about me. And this one little philosophical change allowed me to become a great salesperson and a great business person. And it was about funerals. In this article, what it said is that the average funeral, 10 people cry. I remember thinking to myself, 10 people cry. I spend my entire life working and trying to impress people, influence people, and living in fear of what they think. And only 10 of them even care enough to cry at my funeral. But then the next paragraph, it got worse. It said, at your burial, half the people will not go from the funeral to the burial if it's raining. And I thought, wait a minute. You mean the weather will determine how many people are at my burial versus how I live my life? And I started thinking, so I'm spending my whole life worrying about what people think, what they think about what I'm doing, and only 10 of them are going to cry at my funeral, and half of them won't even go to my burial if it's raining. Why do I care? See, we spend our entire life worrying about things and worrying about people and worrying about feelings that, first of all, don't even happen. Second of all, don't even matter. So don't let that block between learn knowledge and activity knowledge happen. Just understand, go through the process. It really doesn't matter. And in that process is where you're going to learn everything. So if you do learn knowledge and activity knowledge, you do that long enough, guess what happens? You start getting good at it. When you start getting good at it, guess what happens? People start watching you. They start modeling you. And when people start looking up to you and modeling you, then you become the teacher. You go from learn knowledge to activity knowledge to modeling knowledge, because at first you were modeling other people who are good at learn knowledge and activity knowledge, but all of a sudden you start getting good at it. People start modeling you, and guess what? You now become the teacher. And when you become the teacher, that's when this business explodes for you. See, at first, like I talked about, it takes you, whatever you want to achieve in this business. Say you want to get the national marketing director, and 3 years into getting there, and you're going to give yourself 6 years to get there, and 3 years into it, you're only 18% there in volume. Guess why? Because the first half of it, you're going through learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, until you became worthy of being modeled. And all of a sudden, you became the teacher and your business took off. But there's a natural harmony. You have to plant seeds. You have to cultivate, and then you harvest. You can't go from planting seeds to harvest. You have to cultivate, and that's where you kind of separate the doers from the non-doers. If you get this part right here, guarantee you can have success. All I'm asking you to do is every week plug into the learn knowledge, plug into these CDs, plug in the new brand partner training, plug in the Minerum University. That is your information flow. That's what's going to drive your philosophies and attitudes. Then take that and go and do the hows, the 10 core commitments, and you do it through third party. Remember, you're becoming a great messenger and you're driving the message, which is all done third party for you. You do that over and over and over repetitively Over time, all of a sudden you start getting good. Through that process, you're modeling other people, but all of a sudden, people in your organization start modeling you. You've learned the process, and all of a sudden, you become modeled, and guess what? Now you become the teacher, and that last 82% happens over the next second half of your business. When you get this is what separates the people from the ones who do it and the ones who don't do it. It's a simple thing. It's easy to do. It's just as easy not to do, but it's a difference between successful and not successful. Okay, as I was talking about, you now going through learn knowledge, activity knowledge, duplicating it over time, all of a sudden you become worthy of being modeled. That starts setting up duplications. So your goal is to start building an organization. It's you, and then it's 5, and those 5 turn to 25. They turn into 125, and they turn to 625, and they turn into 3,000. But the only way that's going to work is you follow a system that's duplicatable. And that's why I talked about, the third-party tools, and I talked about the replication, that type of thing. But here's a key thing that I really want to drive home to. I'm trying to drive home certain thoughts that if you get these in your head, it really is going to help your success, and it's going to shorten your curve. You don't want to just be a person who recruits. You want to be a person who sponsors. What do I mean by that? Somebody recruits is somebody, just gets somebody in and says, hey, there's a new brand partner training over there, and there's the CDs, and there's the training, and all that stuff. Go plug into it and go do the business. A sponsor is somebody who says, hey, there's information, but let's do this together. I might be long distance, I might be on the phone, but I'm going to be there intellectually and emotionally with you. See, when I sit down with somebody and they're new, I'm going to ask them, how much do you want to make in this business? And I want to get a number, okay? And then I can say, well, how long are you willing to give to get there? Now, if somebody comes and says, hey, I want to make $10,000 a month. And I say, well, how long? And they go, a year. I go, you're going to give me a year to get your $10,000 a month. Are you making $10,000 a month? They're no, but how long have you been working? 15 years. So you've been working 15 years and you haven't got the 10,000, but you want me to get you there in 1 year. Let's be realistic. Now, I have a vehicle I think can go faster than the vehicle you're in, but you need to get them realistically what they want. But how much do you want? How much time you want to get there? Then I ask them, how many hours a week are you willing to invest? I got to know those things because they got to equal what I think they can achieve. But once they do that, then I want to work a plan. And I want to sit with that person and start working with them. And this is real important right here. This is where I came up with this phrase, slow down to go fast. What I mean by that is instead of just getting people in and pointing to what to do, slow down and work with them. This is where I came up with the phrase, master the mundane. I don't want to leave them out there doing it. I want to show them how to do this business. I want to show them how to master the mundane. But what I want to do is not just do the high-tech stuff. The high-tech stuff is pushing them to all this information, to learn knowledge. But I want to do the high touch, which means I want to be with them through the activity knowledge. They can do the learn knowledge on their own. Okay, I don't need to be there when they're listening to CDs and new brand partner training, that type of thing. But the activity, I want to be there with them emotionally, physically, if I can. And that's called the high touch side of the business. The people who will slow down to go fast, the people who slow down, make this happen, organizations explode. You can take an organization that understands this versus an organization that just does the high tech. The one with the high tech and high touch will always beat the one that's just the high tech. So what I'm trying to say is I bring somebody in, I really want to build a relationship with them. I call this environment associations. Let me give you a good example of the power of environment associations. We all know of Alcoholics Anonymous. Think about it. If there's an alcoholic, you said, hey, I want to help you. Here's an Alcoholics Anonymous CD. Well, did that really work? It might help some. But what really works is that person gets involved in environment associations of Alcoholics Anonymous that go into the high touch side. See, think about it. If it was just information technology in our society, we should have the healthiest society we ever had. There's more information on health now than there's ever been. But what makes it work is when you have the high touch side to it. It's not just information technology. It has to be environment and associations. What makes Alcoholics Anonymous work is not just the information, it's the environment and associations. What's going to make your organization work is you got to have the information. That's the learned knowledge. But what's going to make your organization explode is going to be the activity knowledge, which is the high touch side, which is the environment and associations. So take, for example, I get somebody started and I just say, hey, here's all the information. Here's your checklist. Go get them. Versus I'll get a person and say, here's all the information. Here's the stuff you got to study, but I'm going to be here with you. And here's the difference. We always ask everybody to go out and get 10 people in play. You get a new person, you tell them to go get 10 people in play. Remember, they got a job. They got other endeavors going in their life. They're their highest level of anxiety, their lowest level of knowledge. They're really a baby brand partner. They're the worst that they're ever going to be. And you want them to go out and put your future of your business in their hands. Or you take that person They're going through the process. They have their first 10 they're going to put in play, and you're going to be with them because you're now a third-party expert. And you're going to be with them through exposing the product and exposing the opportunity, exposing the training, the communications. Which one's going to have a better chance to succeed? Now, get this also. Just think about exposing a person on the opportunity. It's been proven over the years. It takes about 5 exposures for somebody to make a decision to do the business. About 5 exposures. A CD, a magazine, a conference call, an event. It takes about 5 exposures on average. Well, a new person, when they get said no to that first time, do they go back a second time? No. Remember, this is a person who's got a job, got a family, highest level of anxiety, lowest level of knowledge, living in fear, is resenting people, like friends, family, neighbors, like what Napoleon Hill said, and you leave them out there by themselves. What's the chance that they're going to go those first 10 at all? Probably not. Second of all, are they going to go that first 10 a second time, a third time, fourth time, fifth time, where all the magic's at? No. But will you do it? See, you're the one that brings the environment associations. You're the one that brings the workout partner. You're the one that brings the mastermind to these people. If you'll do that, slow down and go fast. Bring the high touch side of the business. Be involved with the activity knowledge side of the business with them. Guess what happens? That organization will explode. You see, when you ask somebody else, a new person, to go out and do that with new people, guess what happens? You got a new person who knows nothing. They bring in somebody if they get lucky. They're with a new person. You basically got Dumb and Dumber. Dumbest thing I've ever heard, okay? Funny movie, but the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What you want to do is you want to slow down and get in there with them, become the third-party expert, let them go through the process, and guess what happens? Now they learn the business. You ensure their success. And guess what they're going to do with their people? They're going to do the exact same thing. And now you're going to have an organization built on environment associations, built on going from learn knowledge to activity. And that's when the organization is going to explode compared to an organization that says, go over there, there's a learn knowledge, learn all that information. Now go do those activities by yourself. Now, long distance, you might not be there to do it with them, but you're with them on the phone. You're with them every day. You're there talking to them. You're their workout partner. You're their mastermind group. You're there with them emotionally, physically, financially. You understand where everything's at. You're their partner through that. And in the process also, you're introducing other people in the business, and they all start working together. They're upline, sideline, downline. They work together. But if you'll do that, that's the difference between an organization that has huge success and an organization that struggles. And so that's really one of the most important things with laws of duplication is really just slowing down and working with your people when you get them started and really knowing where they're coming from, what they want to make, how much time they're willing to commit, how many hours a week, and get that in alignment. See, I get a new person involved in business. And we start down the road. And it's different for every person. There's no right path, okay? They're all different paths. Every journey is a little bit different. Inevitably, most of the time, they quit doing what they said they were going to do along the path. Something happens. And I've learned a long time ago just a simple question. Sit down with them and go, wait a minute. When you got involved, you're excited. You saw this thing. And you agreed with me when we went through the workout plan. You agreed you're going to do this learn knowledge and these activity knowledge, and you do these 10 core commitments. Along the way, you quit doing them. Why? And just be quiet. Why did you quit? And it's going to come down to a couple things, or really 3 things. Number one, they don't understand. They just don't understand what they're supposed to do. And that's probably my fault. And I need to slow down and go, okay, excuse me. Let me explain to you again, and let me step in and help you more this time. Second one is they lost their belief in the business. Remember, Napoleon Hill said the number one enemy you have is your friends, family, and neighbors. Believe me, friends, family, and neighbors, somebody's going to rain on their parade. And it takes them back. At first, they think everybody's going to be for them, and they find out that's not how the world works. Most people have that negative subconscious. And when they see you trying to do something different in your life, trying to improve your life, they're going to do everything they can to inhibit it because it makes them feel uncomfortable with who they are. That's just the way it is. It's not going to change, okay? Successful people just get that. Successful people just do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Or the third one is a lost belief in themselves, okay? And that happens a lot. Remember, the negative subconscious never stops. It's just grinding away. And if they haven't changed their associations and they haven't worked on their philosophies and they haven't read the books or the tapes, it can easily just grind them down. So if you're not there for them, you know what they'll do? They'll just quietly disappear. But if you're there with them and they feel comfortable with you, they can lean on you as they go through that, and they can learn through that process, and all of a sudden they'll have success. If you'll do those little things right there, and help them through their learned knowledge and activity knowledge, and stay with them until they become worthy of being modeled, and all of a sudden they can start teaching, then you can let them go. And now they're ready to be successful. But if you just say, hey, go get them, guys. You're going to go do that learned knowledge, and eventually you can go out through that activity, and you just do that over and over until you're worthy of being modeled, the chances of them getting there are very low. But if you do it with them, not necessarily always physically with them, but you're there emotionally with them the whole time, and you're there giving advice and telling them stories and understanding where they're at, their chance of success goes up dramatically. And guess what that does for your organization? It explodes. An organization that does that versus the ones that just says, here's the high-tech side, just go do the business, that group will never be as successful as the one who slows down to go fast, who slows down and masters the mundane. Okay, now as you go through all this, one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to protect your organization. What do I mean by that? I see this all the time. People from outside the industry come in here and they think they're going to show us how to do it. Trust me, I could have been one of those people. I was a Fortune 100, very successful business person. I was a person that built a very large private company after I got out of Fortune 100 America. I'd gone to school. I'd had a business degree. I was in graduate school. I won awards for marketing. I spoke at conferences on business, and I had a lot of skill sets. When I came to this industry, I put them all to the side. I said, forget all those things because this is different. I need to understand the intricacies of this business, how it works. What will happen, I've seen people all the time, they get in this business, they start doing the 10 core commitments, they start following the system, they're having success, and all of a sudden what happens is somewhere down the organization, Mr. or Mrs. graduate student in business from Xerox shows up. They say, wait a minute, I got my degree. I went to this big university. This is how we do things. And they start telling you how to do things. And you're sitting there going, well, wait, I just got my high school degree. I've never really did anything. I would just work for somebody. And you listen to them and they'll take you right out of the business. You're going to have to protect your organization. See what happens, most business out there is done through what's called pull-through marketing. That's what you learn in school. That's what you see every day on TV. What it means by that is you take a product and you put merchandising and branding around it, and you put an endorser next to it, Tiger Woods. People see him holding a can of Coke, and then they go to the store to get it. They're pulled into the market. That's not the business we're in. Business we're in is where a product needs felt, touched, experienced, explored, handled, or demonstrated, where the product is pushed into the market. See, our products, if they're put into traditional retail and they sat out there in the department stores, they would get lost in the clutter of the other 20 products sitting there in the department store. Our products are unique products, first to the market, differentiation, never been done before, that we have global exclusive rights to. We want to demonstrate them, educate them. They want them to be felt, touched, experienced, explored, handled, demonstrated, educated, pushed into the market. You don't learn that in school. You don't learn that in traditional business. It exists here. So you've got to protect your organization from outside influences. You're going to have to protect your organization from people who come in who have a lot of sales experience. Sales people do the worst here because they want to come in here and sell, talk. Remember, you're the messenger, and the only thing you sell is the system. The system does the work. It's not the house, it's how you do the house. When I get a person who's a very successful business person or very successful in sales, I say, hey, I don't want you to not sell. I don't want you to use your communication skills and organization skills and all those things you learned in school and all those things that made you who you are. Use those to drive the system. Use those to sell the system, to manage the system, to motivate the system, but don't change the system, okay? So when you see people like that, you got to get them to understand, we're not saying don't use your skill sets, but use them to drive the system, because the system is built on the laws of duplication. It's built on pushing a product in the market, not pulling a product to the market. So you got to get that. One of the things I did in my life is I built the largest personal development TV network. I produced over 900 shows on family, finance, health, relationships, sales. The only TV channel in the world. At one time, we were the mecca, the central of all personal development. I know all the New York Times bestsellers, lectures, authors, all those people. I was producing all their stuff. Through that, I got to know all the great salespeople, the ones that write all the books. You go into the bookstore, they'll have 5, 10, 15 books. These are the sales gurus. Every one of them I've known now for a couple decades. Every one of them has been in 2, 3, or 4 direct sales companies. I don't know of one of them who has succeeded. Now think about that. These are people who write the books about sales. These are people who get paid $50,000 to $100,000 to do a seminar on sales. And you get into the direct sales industry, but it really should be called the direct sharing industry. We don't sell. We share the training. We share the communication. We share the tools. We share the personal development. We share the events. We are the messenger, and we're sharing the message. We're not the messenger selling the message. You got to understand, you have to protect this business from people come in And you think, oh my gosh, they got their degree from a graduate school. They work for this great company. They're a sales expert. And I'm going to listen to everything they say. I'll promise you they'll take you right out of the business. I don't want them not to do what they do. I want them to take their skill sets and drive the system that's built on duplication. It's built on the laws in this industry. It's built on the laws of push-through marketing where product needs to be felt, touched, experienced, explored, handled. I'll talk to any of these people anytime. I've seen them come 1,000 times, and I've not seen one of them come in and show us something different. I've had infomercials thrown at me, direct marketing thrown at me, all this viral stuff thrown at me, and I've never seen anybody become successful in this business. You know what works in this business? It's just blocking and tackling, going out there and being a great messenger and sharing the message through third-party tools and doing it in a high-touch mode, environment associations, slowing down to go fast, mastering the mundane. If you'll do that very slowly over time, you'll build an organization that will replicate and duplicate, and it'll take yourself around the world. But if you do the other things, you'll just die out. I've seen it happen over and over. The other thing you have to protect yourself is from false companies out there. In this industry, it's sad to say there's a lot of bad companies in this industry. And I'm going to share with you some things that you need to be looking for, because the main thing that determines the success in this industry, and again, remember, you're talking about the company. In the industry, it's been around 150 years and nobody's done what we've done. So I'd say that we know what we're doing, okay? But there's a lot of, I'd just say there's a lot of wolves in sheep clothes out there, and you got to be careful. First of all, there's a lot of companies that play comp plan games, like binaries. Anything that's in a binary, I just do not think can be legitimate, because what they don't do is customer acquisition. What makes a great company in this industry is you create customers. You don't create distributors only. And the only way you can create customers is if you have a product of value. A product of value is a product that somebody would buy if there wasn't a business opportunity attached to it. Binaries by nature are just built on people buying business centers, driving their volume through distributors and not through customers. And that's why eventually they all implode on themselves. But you're going to see those things all the time. You want to look for companies that don't ask you to buy tons of inventory. Because what they're trying to do is get you to buy a bunch of inventory because they know you're not really going to sell it because their product doesn't have value. Their product would not stand on the marketplace if it wasn't attached to a comp plan. One of the great things about our company is we're driven totally by customer acquisition because we have products in a very rich space that have proven science, proven clinicals. They're first to the market, unique in the marketplace, have differentiation. We have the global exclusive rights to them. Nobody else can replicate or duplicate what we're doing. Because of that, we can go out there and build a great business model. We don't have to get people to buy a bunch of distributorships. We don't have to get people to buy a bunch of inventory. We can build a simple model. And it's really funny. The company's built a simple, non-aggressive model. The company's built the company around words, go slow to go fast, is the fastest growing company. Or something there. And so if you understand those things, you just understand product value, not driven by comp plans, that's the differentiation. But you're going to have a lot of people come along and tell you about all these different things that just come and go. So understand, you build your business. It's like anything else out there, you're going to have to protect your business. And you're going to have distractions from people who come from education, or people who come from success in business, or people who come from sales, or people who come from other companies that are not built on true harmony. They're kind of built on the games, and they're going to come around, and it's not going to go away. That's just part of the business. You're just going to have to weed your garden and keep protecting it. If you do that, you'll have success. I've always said in this business, people are looking for people to just know who they are, know where they're going, and know how they're going to get there. Here's one thing about Nerium. We know who we are. We know where we're going, and we know how we're going to get there. There's going to be distractions along the way. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be bumps in the road. But nobody's ever done what we've done, and we haven't even gotten started. I mean, what we're going to do with our products and the marketplace, our systems, is beyond anything that's ever been seen in this industry. Now what I want to do is share with you what my favorite philosophy is. And this is a philosophy that I actually created. And it's one that back when I had a huge organization and I saw people, some have success, some not. And it just really drove me crazy that I would see people who had desire. They really wanted it. You could tell they wanted it. And they had the ability. And everything I was asking them to do, they could do, but they just weren't having success. And I was trying to come up with a philosophy to get them to understand that what successful people do in this business is they do the little things that seem to make no difference in the act of doing them. They just do them over and over and over and over and over and over, consistency and persistency over a long enough period of time to have success. See, one of the biggest problems you have in the business world is I think most things are marketed in what I call quantum leap. It's the same thing I saw in personal development. One of the things that really frustrated me when I had that TV network is that what I saw is these people who had great content on finances or health or relationships. They would try and get people to buy their books or CDs or go to their events by telling them that we're going to fix your health, your finances, your relationship in the next 90 days if you get this information. Quantum leap. You've been bad at it for 10 years. We're going to fix it in 90 days. And I thought that was okay because it got people to get into the books and the tapes. At first, I thought it was okay. But then I observed the next thing. These people would get this information, willing people trying to change their health or their finances or relationship. They would do the information, which was great how information. The hows were right. They would do it for 90 days, just like they're told, but their health or their finances or relationships didn't really change. And two things happened. Number one, they lost belief in the information. Now, the information wasn't wrong. The hows were right. They had the wrong philosophy on how to do the hows. And they didn't just go back to where they were when they started. They went to a place worse than that because they now lost belief in themselves. And all of a sudden, I started seeing the information, which is good information, hurting people, not because the hows were wrong, because of how to do the hows. The philosophy was wrong. So I wanted to come with a philosophy, was the anti-quantum leap philosophy, and I called it the Slide Edge. You get the book, the Slide Edge, in your kit. This book, first what I did is I just wrote a manual, and I started teaching it to people, the Slide Edge, trying to get them to understand that successful people do the little things that seem to make no difference in all in the act of doing them. They just do them over and over and over and over, consistently and persistently over a long enough period of time till the compounded effect kicks in. So I started teaching that. People start coming back to me saying, gosh, my business is now working. I'm getting that. They're coming back. It's affecting my life. It's affecting my relationships, my health. So I wrote the book, and I put the book out there, and it became a bestseller, and it's gone all around the world. It's changed people's organizations, their companies, their relationships, their health, their direct sales business. It's just amazing what it's done. And it's just a simple philosophy. It's a philosophy of doing the simple disciplines versus the simple errors and judgment. And so here's how it works. Basically, again, I'm going to say it one more time, successful people do the little things. Little things like doing 2 exposures a day, one of our 10 core commitments. Little things like going to a real results party, which is just a little thing to do. Little things like reading 10 pages of a good book a day. Every one of those things are easy to do. Every one you can do them. But also, guess what? They're just as easy not to do. When you do them, that's a simple discipline. When you don't do them, that's a simple error in judgment. And here's what you got to get. The difference between doing the right activity and not doing the right activity is so subtle you can't even notice it. See, we say do 2 exposures a day every single day. Now, if you do 2 exposures today, are you going to be successful? No, not today. Matter of fact, it really doesn't matter. It's insignificant compared to what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't do it, are you going to fail today? No, there's really no difference. See, the difference between doing the right activity, the 10 core commitments, the things we ask you to do, and not doing the 10 core commitments, in the moment, the difference between doing them and not doing them is insignificant. But the people who do those insignificant things consistently, persistently over a long enough period of time, they do the little things that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them in the moment, but they do them over and over and over and over and over with a good attitude, consistently, persistently long enough till the compounded effect kicks in. You got to get that. See, you have a dream, you have a goal. You want to be a national marketing director, or you want to achieve this in some other area of your life. That's your goal. That's your dream. It's way out there. The only way you achieve it, though, is in the moment. This is what you have to get. The only thing you have is the moment. You don't have the past and you don't have the future. You only have the moment. And the things you do in the moment are always insignificant in comparison to what you're trying to achieve. The problem is everybody tries to get you to buy things and do things through saying quantum leap, that if you just do things for 90 days, you're going to achieve them, and it doesn't work. A lot of direct sales companies try and tell you, you get in here in a year, you'll be successful. We tell you no. Give yourself 6 years. We say it's going to take a year just to figure it out, 2 years to get good at it. We're honest about it. There's a natural harmony. You got to plant seeds, you got to cultivate, and then you'll harvest. That's the truth. That's what a real business model is built on. So what you have to understand, you can achieve what you want in this company, but you achieve what you want in this company in the moment. And in the moment when you do your 2 exposures a day, or you do any of the 10 core commitments, or you do the real results party, you read your 10 pages of good book a day, in the moment, those things are insignificant. If you do them that day, you don't succeed. If you don't do them that day, you don't fail. The difference between doing them and not doing them is insignificant. It's so subtle you can't even notice it. But the only thing you have is the moment. And the only way you have huge success is by doing things in the moment that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them, but you just do them over and over and over, consistently, persistently, or a long enough period of time. That's why I call it the slight edge. It's just a slight edge over and over and over. And what I found, the people who do the simple disciplines versus the simple errors in judgment, just saying it doesn't matter. And they're right. They say it doesn't matter. But you know what? It does matter. The people who are successful take responsibility. They just say, I'm going to do it. The people who are not successful, they just blame. They say, I'm not going to do it, and they blame everybody for it. They blame the government. They blame their education. They blame their family. They blame everybody. One of the things you got to do here is you got to take responsibility. See, this is a philosophy. This is not a how. This is how you do the hows. I've always said, if you take this philosophy, you'll make the finance books work. You'll make the relationship books work. It will make the 10 core commitments work. You know, it's no different than in eating. You sit down to eat and you eat bad food. And if you ate a cheeseburger, do you die that day? No. But most people dig their grave with their teeth. You eat bad food over 20, 30 years, it's going to eventually kill you. See, the difference between eating good food one day and eating bad food one day in the moment is insignificant. You don't notice anything. But the compound effect over time, the slight edge of it over time, it matters. It changes your health. It's the same thing, your finances and everything, but most certainly it is in your business. The 10 core commitments, every one of them is easy to do. They're just as easy not to do. And every one of them, you do them in the moment. When you're in the moment, when you're doing them, it's insignificant. If you do them, you don't succeed. If you don't do them, you don't fail. It's so subtle you can't even notice it. But what successful people do, they understand the slight edge. This is not just Nerium. This is life, okay? This is why this book is taken off all over the world and it's been used by sports teams and being used by hospitals and being used by universities and being used by huge and direct sales all over the place, because it gets people to understand that the little things matter. And when you get that, your whole life changes. I get thousands of letters from people who changed their entire health. Now, this wasn't a health book, but it changed their health. People who lost 100 pounds. There's nothing about losing 100 pounds, but they lost 100 pounds. People's relationships changed. There's nothing about relationships, but the relationships changed because all of a sudden they had a philosophy about how to do the hows. And so what I'm trying to get across here is we got the 10 core commitments. Every one of them you can do. They're easy to do. They're also easy not to do. There's one is the simple error in judgment versus the simple disciplines repeated over time. And so if you'll get that, now remember, like I said earlier, when you want to become a national marketing director, as an example, and it's going to take 6 years. And by statistics, if you're on average, after 3 years, you're only be 18% of the volume. That which means there's going to be about $27,000 in volume. You need to get to $150,000 in volume to get a national marketing director, okay? You're going to only be at 27,000 volume after 3 years. But you're right on track. That's where the slight edge comes in. You've got to plant seeds, cultivate, and then harvest. Successful people do the little things that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them. They just do them over and over and over and over, consistently and persistently over a long period of time with a good attitude till the compounded effect kicks in. They treat it like business. So what I'd like to do with you is share what I call the 7 principles of the slight edge. Again, once I put the book out, I rewrote the book and put these in because I was learning from people's input coming back to me about how they were applying the slight edge. And so here they are. First of all, the key things, number 1 is to show up. Number 2 is to show up consistently. Let me give you a great story. My daughter, Amber, she wanted to go to University of Florida, which is a great school. We lived in Dallas, Texas. And so she applied, she got in. We went to the orientation. The dean of students gets up and says, 6,700 incoming students. The average GPA is 4.0. The average SAT was around top 10%. And congratulations, your kids are the best of the best. So we go out to eat that night. My daughter's like, what am I going to do? Because she went from being the top of her class in high school to now being average. And I said, Amber, it's going to be so easy. You're going to beat them all. It's so easy. All you got to do is, number 1, show up. She goes, what do you mean? I go to class, every single class. What you're going to find is these kids will not show up at class. If you'll just go to every single class, you'll beat 50% of them. Number 2 is every day study for 2 hours a day. And then she joined a sorority, and I go, and then go to the sorority and do all the things you want to do. Have fun, enjoy your experience. But do those 2 things, show up and show up consistently. Go to every class and do your 2 hours of study every single day. And said, just do those things. And she called me a few weeks later and she says, guess what? You know, our class started out with 300 kids and now they're down to 100 and we haven't even taken a test. What happened is these kids who were the best of the best, when they left structure, when they left their parents' structure and all of a sudden had freedom, like you do when you come in here, they all of a sudden made the wrong decisions. So the best of the best didn't show up at class. If you don't show up at class, you don't do the studying, and guess what? They failed. So my daughter, 4 years later, on time, graduated cum laude from one of the best business schools in the United States. Now, was she smarter than any of these kids? No. Was she better than these kids? No. She just had a better philosophy than any of these kids. She had a philosophy about showing up, do the little things, seeming to make no difference at all in the act of doing them. If you go to class one day, another kid doesn't go to class, is there much difference between those two kids that day? But the cumulative effect of that over years, there's a huge difference. That's the slight edge. She had a philosophy. She wasn't smarter. She wasn't better. It wasn't the hows. She wasn't smarter. It was how she did the hows. See, what's going to happen to you or people you bring in this business, they get in, they get all excited, and all of a sudden, they don't show up. We're saying, hey, here's the 10 core commitments. We do 2 exposures a day, results parties. We plug into the training. We plug into communication. They're all easy to do. Anybody can do them. They start doing it, and all of a sudden, they don't show up because what? They don't have structure. Now, this is the same person that shows up at the job every single day because they have structure there. They show up at the job they can't stand every single day because they have structure there. All of a sudden, they're given the dignity of choice, the dignity of freedom, and they can't show up. So the principles of Slide Edge, number 1 is show up. Do the 10 core commitments and do them consistently. The third one is show up consistently with a good attitude. This is everything I talked about earlier. You can't have a good attitude if you just become one with the world because the world is wired negatively. I'm sorry. It just is. You got to, with determination, you got to really seek out, search positive. You got to look for it, to create that positive subconscious. You know, there's a great study I read about health. They studied the 25 longest living civilizations where the people on average lived over 100 years old. And there was 25 different civilizations around the globe. They weren't connected by race or DNA or geographics or anything. And they found the 4 things they have in common. And the number 1 thing they had of the 25 top civilizations is they had a positive outlook on life. Your outlook, your attitude was more important on your health than how you ate or how you exercised. Again, attitude is everything. So you want to just show up. You want to show up consistently with a good attitude. That comes from the books we read, the tapes we listen to, the events that we attend, and what else? Laws of association. You cannot have a positive attitude if everybody around you has a negative attitude. That's why we have workout partners. That's why we have a mastermind group. That's why we plug into the events, because that's what's going to give you the great attitude. So number 1, show up. Number 2, consistently show up and do the 10 core commitments, but do them consistently, like the Slide Edge. Do them over and over and over, but do them with a good attitude. Number 4, show up consistently with a good attitude over a long period of time. Remember, the number 10 core commitment was do them for a year. We're just saying a year. Traditional business, it's going to take you 5 years to just get a franchise off the ground. I mean, here, if somebody just worked the business steadily and it took them 6 years to get a national marketing director, it could put them in the top 5 percentile income in the United States. Now, what have they done over the last 6 years? So you got to come in here and you got to give it time. This is a business. You're going to have to plant seeds, you're going to have to cultivate, and then you're going to harvest, okay? So show up consistently with a good attitude over a long enough period of time. The 5th one is like Napoleon Hill said, you got to have desire and faith. Trust me, there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be times you're going to be down. There's going to be times when things don't work. Matter of fact, there's going to be a lot of those things, okay? You got to drive it with desire and faith. Napoleon Hill studied the 500 most successful people, said the number 1 thing they had in common was desire. Number 2 is faith. You're going to have to desire and you have to have faith that this system that we have, that this company we have will be here for you and will work for you if you do it consistently and persistently enough over a long enough period of time. Number 1, show up with the 10 core commitments. Number 2, show up with them consistently, like the Slide Edge, with a good attitude over a long period of time with desire and faith. The next one is you're going to have to pay a price. So you do these things, there's things you're going to have to give up probably. There's a price you have to pay for success. It's just how it works. But I've always thought the price of doing things was easier than the price of neglect. One thing I learned a long time ago is if you don't succeed, that means you don't succeed for your whole life. It means you have to carry that with you forever. But if you'll just follow these principles with this company and do them consistently, persistently over a period of time, you can have success and you can put that one away. but you're going to have to pay a price. There's probably going to be things you have to give up, things you're going to have to go through, things you have to study. But quite honestly, the journey here, I think, is worth everything. I think regardless of what happens to you at this company, the journey, the person you'll become along the way will be worth everything you do. We hear that over and over and over because we're a company that's so much larger than a comp plan and a product. We're a company that's about purpose and meaning. I guarantee you, you get involved with us and work with us. A year later, you're going to be a better spouse. You're going to be a better friend. You're going to be healthier. You're going to have a better attitude. You're going to have better philosophies. And it's not going to just affect your Nerium business. It's going to affect everything about who you are. But there's going to be a price you're going to have to pay. And the last one, what I call slide edge integrity. What you're going to find, if you go talk to most of the national market directors, when they're out there doing the 10 corporate commitments, 80 to 90% of the time, they're doing it by themselves. This is a solo journey. Most of these things you do, you're going to be doing by yourself. So you're going to have the discipline. And most of these things we ask you to do, they're little, they're insignificant in the moment. And so here's what's going to happen. You're going to be out there, and you got a job, you got a family, you got other endeavors, you're tired. And it's the end of the day, and you haven't done your 2 exposures, you haven't read your 10 pages, you haven't done your real results party that week. You just say, you know what? If I don't do it, it really doesn't matter. And guess what? You're right. In the moment, it doesn't matter. And there's really nobody watching, so nobody knows. And guess what? You're right. Nobody's watching. But integrity is what you do when nobody else is watching. Integrity is what you do when nobody else is watching. And it's in that moment you find out who you are. You come home, you're tired, you see that book, there's those 10 pages. You say, come on, I've been reading those 10 pages now for 3 years. I'm only 18% of the way there, which means you're right on track. If I don't read those 10 pages today, it's not going to matter. And guess what? You're right. If I read them, I'm not going to advance real fast. And guess what? You're right. But it's in that moment when you find out who you are. It's right there. You find out, are you really worthy of success? It's so important to have integrity. And guess what? You're going to make those decisions when nobody else is around. So you want to show up consistently with a good attitude over a long period of time. You want to drive it with desire and faith. You're going to have to pay the price, and you want to do it with integrity. If you'll do those things to the 10 core commitment, you can't help but succeed. I have seen people over and over, people you would have never thought could have success, come into the company, apply these core commitments, do them with the slide edge, follow our systems of duplication, use our systems, use our third-party tools, become a great messenger through personal development, and everything takes off with them eventually. It's different for every person. Some people it happens quicker than other people. Does it really matter? It's your journey. Do not compare yourself to other people. It matters what happens for you. I want to kind of close out this talk going back to the beginning of time for me. When I got in this industry, remember, I'd been successful. I owned 2 companies at the time. I had no time. I saw the business and I was intrigued by it. And I got involved. And I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I knew nothing about the direct sales industry. Matter of fact, I got involved with a company that was at that time 24 years old, bigger than Nerium. Everybody at the top was network marketers. I knew nothing about network marketing. Didn't know any network marketers, okay? And I got in and I talked to 5 people and they all 5 said no. Then I talked to 6 people and 1 person said yes. That person failed because I didn't know what to do. I was just like anybody. I was at my highest level of anxiety, lowest level of knowledge in the business. And I really didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have anybody. The person sponsored me was another city and she didn't know what she was doing. Okay. This was the Dumb and Dumber situation, not to be negative. That's where we were at. But I learned some things. I was real busy. And so what I did is I put together a meeting where people could come together every single week and we could share the opportunity because I could do that. Okay. Like a real results party or market party, that type of thing. And I put together a meeting and I started that meeting. And the first month, that meeting was anywhere from 2 people, or 4 people, or 6 people, but it was in that area, okay? It wasn't that big. During that, there was 1 person who got serious with me. So we decided at Albuquerque, New Mexico, we'd meet every Monday at the Good Earth restaurant, and I started my mastermind group. Now, who was that? That was me and that 1 person. We should say, what are we going to do? And I go, I don't know. What are you going to do? I don't know. We were dumb. We were dumb and dumber, okay? But we were together. 2 minds creates a third more powerful mind. I started my mastermind group. Then what I did is I started another night, a training. And that's where if somebody was excited about the business, they'd come to the training and we could train them together. It was easier for me to do it with a group versus me chasing everybody. See, what some people think is, oh, I'm not going to go to the trainings, but the trainings is the easiest way to get people trained. Think about it. You're out there and you're building an organization. It's going to go 5 or 10 people. Are you want to go to every one of them and sit down with them and train them? or do you want them to come to a training? It's more economical. It just works better. It's more efficient by having them come to training. And so the first month, I'd have one person, two persons there. Now think about this. I have a job. I have two companies, I should say. I'm sitting there giving up one of my lunches on Monday. I'm giving up one night for training and one night for the opportunity. And in that first month, doing basically 3 mastermind lunches, 4 meetings, and 3 trainings, I basically had one person who got serious, okay? But guess what happened to me? I was going through learn knowledge and activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge, and I was slowly becoming worthy of becoming modeled. And I was doing this in Albuquerque, New Mexico by myself with no upline, basically. Second month, I kept doing that. I kept doing my masterminds. All of a sudden, there's like 3 or 4 of us at the mastermind at the Good Earth restaurant. The meetings grew to over 10 people, maybe 15. We got lucky. The trainings, all of a sudden, there were 6 people there or so. And all of a sudden, at the end of my second month, there was like 3 of us I call core. Now, there was other people doing the business, but I'm talking about these core people who are with me. People I could say, we're together. We're doing the meetings together, the trainings together. They were my workout partners. They were my mastermind group. They were, it's 2 minds creating a third more powerful mind. Third month, I kept on doing my masterminds on Monday at lunch. And I was saying that's when you do it. That's just what I was doing because I had a business I had to run also. Okay, so I was giving up one lunch every single week from my business. I was paying that price. And my meetings grew. And all of a sudden, they went like 20, 30 because I kept going. The trainings grew to like 10, 12, 13. And at the end of that third month, I had about 6 or 7 of us I call core. In that 90 days, I pretty much learned what I needed to learn. Okay. Now, I didn't make hardly any money. I had 11 lunches with my mastermind group. I grew that little core group about 6 or 7 people. I had done 12 meetings. Believe me, I learned something getting up there and doing a meeting. You want to learn something, know you're going to have to get in front of people and talk. I'd done 11 trainings because I didn't do a training the first week, okay, because I didn't really have anybody. I did 11 trainings, and I trained maybe now about 7 or 8, 10 people. And I had about 6 or 7 core people. I'd taken a lot of time. I hadn't really made any money. I'd taken a lot of time and paid a price away from other things I was doing. I had given up playing in this softball league I was in and a few things like that. But in those first 90 days, I pretty much got the core of it. All of a sudden, I knew how to do the presentation. I knew how to share the product. I knew how to train. I started to get things. I paid the price, okay? I was in Albuquerque. I remember there was this regional, like we asked you to win our core commitments to go to regional. I was in Tucson, so I drove 8 hours. I worked my business on a Friday night, got done. I drove that night, through the night, 8 hours over to Tucson to go to the regional. Walk in, and all of a sudden, there's like 500 people. I'd never seen more than like 30 people in Albuquerque because we just got started. And I was stunned. A guy named Don Kinder, who's at the top of the company, in this company, was there, making big dollars and real successful. And he gets up and talks, and I was amazed. And I sat there, and I took notes and notes and notes. And the thing I noticed as everybody's around me is most of the people weren't taking notes. I was going, what are they? Here's this guy who's successful and he's sharing what he knows. He spent his life learning something. Why would I spend my life learning something? Why don't I just read his book? I took almost 30 pages of notes. Then afterwards, I went outside and he was talking to everybody with all the cool people. And I was just like this little, person over here. And I waited till everybody got away from him. I walked up to try and ask him a question. He ignored me. Actually, it was kind of rude, okay? I remember saying to myself, I'll never do that. I'll be nice to people. But it didn't matter. I learned from him, okay? I drove back, and I got back to my little core of 6, 7 people. I went to my mastermind. I said, you won't believe what I learned. And I shared all the information. They saw the excitement. And it's like I'd come back with the scroll, here's the information. They got excited. And then there was another regional in a few weeks up in Denver. And so they got so excited, a group of them got in a car, and they drove to Denver. And there's a guy named B.T. Heineman talking. He was another one of the top guys. And remember, I was a little guy. I was a baby brand partner. And he was one of the big guys. And they went there and they came back now, these 6 or 7 people, and they came back because they were excited because how I came back. And they came back, and all of a sudden there were 6 of us united in Albuquerque, excited about what's going on. And we went to our first conference. Walked into this conference, like 10,000 people. And we're there with our little group of like 5 people. We felt so insecure and so inferior, but we were stunned by it all. Well, guess what? A year and a half later, I was at the top of that company. Guess what? Those first 5 people all went to the top with me. None of them had any network marketing experience. None of us. None of us even recruited a network marketer. It was all built in Albuquerque. What we had is we were a team, and we had a system, and we had a model, and we built. And all of a sudden, guess what happened in this 26-year-old company? Everybody around the country started watching Albuquerque, because all of a sudden we had a regional with like 600-700 people in Albuquerque, a city where they said it never worked. And all of a sudden it exploded there. And all of a sudden we were the most popular people in that whole company. And people were coming to Albuquerque to watch what we're doing. Don Kinder, the guy I went and saw who ignored me, came to Albuquerque. So what are you guys doing? The president of the company came to Albuquerque to see what we're doing. They come and they go, Jeff, what are you doing? I go, well, I have a mastermind lunch and we do our 2 exposures a day. And we have this meeting that we share where people come together, and we do a training, and we do a regional once a month. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? I go, well, we share the business, the product about twice a day. That's what we ask everybody to do. And we all get together on Monday at a Good Earth restaurant. And Tuesday night, we get together and we have a gathered meeting because we're all busy and got jobs. And on Thursday, if somebody wants to learn, we train them. And once a month, we have a regional. But no, what are you doing, Jeff? And I go, well, we do 2 exposures a day. And that's when I realized I had something. Master the mundane, slow down and go fast, have a system. And that's where the 10 core commitments came from. After about a year becoming huge, and all of a sudden become the biggest in that company, and then become the biggest international in that company, that's when I wrote the 10 core commitments. And I've taken them and have built other companies with different products in different countries and different cultures. It's worked every single time. All of a sudden, you are sitting in seats I never sat in. I never got to sit in a company that has what you have here, has the space you're in, the products you have, the model you got, the culture you got, the system you got, the 10 core commitments you have, the training you have, the communications you have, the commitment to excellence you have. Everything's here. The only thing missing is what you do. And it's not going to be the hows. It's going to be how you do the hows. I want to leave you with one thing. Every day, in every decision you make, 2 things. You're either building somebody else's dream or you're building your dream. When you get in your car and you listen to those CDs, you're building your dream. When you go to new brand partner training, you're building your dream. When you do those activities, you're building your dream. And every one of those decisions is a slide edge decision. Every one of them in the moment doesn't matter. But in the moment, that's the only thing you got. And the only way you can achieve what you want is in the moment. And every one of those decisions is a slide edge decision. Successful people do the little things. It seems to make no difference at all in the act of doing them. They just do them over and over and over. Consistency, persistency with a good attitude over a long period of time, driven by desire and faith, paying the price, doing with integrity. And every one of those are building their dream. Every one of you, I can promise you this company is going to heights never seen before. You're sitting in seats that have never been sat in before. And you'll be sitting in seats that have never been sat in before forever in this company, because what we're doing is historical and we're just getting started. I want everything for you. We've given you everything we can. It's in your hands now. Handing you the steering wheel. It's yours. I can't wait to get to know you, get to see you, and see you at the top. Thank you.